start recording now. I can always like clip it.
All right.
And then, yeah.
Don't say anything incriminating. All right. And then I just do to Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. In 1 minute.
Come on now. Let's get this show on the road.
Mm-hmm. Tell me if you need me.
All right.
Can we start by dancing? Do you have any music?
You start by dancing. We always start by dancing.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It won't be us if we aren't dancing.
Huh? I support that. She supports that. All right. Look at Mati. All right, you ready? We're going on early. We're breaking the rules.
Break the rules. It's 12 o'clock in Mexico, if that helps.
Okay. Share to group?
Yes.
Oh, crap. Wait, I think it thinks that I'm signed into Facebook as me. That's fine, but that's okay. That's fine.
And then it takes a minute to load. And then it's going to ask you what you want to title it.
Fuck yeah.
So here we have a release. The setup. Las Comadres guest interview, and then her name. So there, and then you just copy and paste it. And then her name.
Oh, there we go. Oops, take that out.
And then you could just copy that and paste it onto where it says title. And then load this up and go live. Like this one. The reason you can't see the go live is because you're so far down.
Oh.
There you go.
All right, ready? Have fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Are we live?
I think we're live. Hello, comadres. All right, so today we are here with the amazing Dr. Gabby. If you guys don't know Gabby, or I'm sorry, Dr. Gabrielle Pelicci, as always. All right, so I just want to make sure. Yes, we are live because I can hear us in the other room. All right, perfect. So today we are here. We are doing our first Q&A of this year. And Gabby is joining us from Tulum, Mexico today. All right, so I have a very nice, professional bio of Gabby. You ready? Gabby has 20 years of experience in global wellness industry, traveled to 40 countries, 17 years entrepreneurial and sales experience, 7 years management experience, 13 years higher education teaching, 5 years digital marketing, including PR, podcasting, social media, and list building, 50 publications in print and digital media, and 40 public speaking presentations and workshops. She's also one of my favorite people in the world. I have known Gabby for at least 5 years, I think. She was my business
No, I think it's like 7.
7?
I think it was like 13, 14.
I think you're right. So I know Gabby because we were on the Holistic Chamber board together. watching the disorganization of things and became very good friends. She was my business coach for a while, and then we worked on a bunch of projects together. And she's also one of my favorite people. So welcome to the Comadres.
Thanks for having me in your community. I've been kind of on the periphery for a long time, but it's fun to actually be in the water with you guys.
All right, so you guys on Facebook, you can ask questions, and Krista Miller is here. We will be following along on both. Oh, and somehow I have the volume on there, so we're gonna turn that on. Krista Miller says, hello, my favorite ladies. And Catherine is hi, Esther is here, and there we go. So, Gabby from Tulum. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna ask you some questions. I've heard they might be, challenging.
Like, what's my favorite color? My favorite food?
Yes, exactly. So when you were 10 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I was a little dancer, singer. I had my bedroom was the stage, and I would perform for all the little animals in my room, and then I would make these signs, and I would put them in the windows of my bedroom so people could come to my performances. I was a little, celebrity in my own mind when I was 10.
A celebrity in your own mind.
Yeah, and I had a massive
audience. To these performances?
Well, actually, there was an incident. So I was a young entrepreneur, and I started my own women's club when I was in the 2nd grade. And we would have meetings in my tree house after school, and it was 10 cents to come to the meetings.
10 cents? That's a good deal.
Yeah. And I would provide some cookies or lemonade or something at these meetings. And eventually I decided that this was a good venue to start my performance career. So I had the girls that were in my group bring their parents to the next meeting, which I had in my basement. And then I performed for the parents of my entrepreneurial female community.
Did you allow other people to perform?
I allowed them to come. I was the J-Lo, and they were the backup dancers.
Okay. Krista says, me too. I am not surprised about this either. You guys should have banded together. It would have been great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So from your first entrepreneurial company, you moved on to what else after that?
It's been a long road. I feel like an old lady over here. I don't know. I mean, I aspired to be a celebrity. I went to New York City. I got a modeling contract. I was, auditioning for stuff and posing for stuff. And then I quickly realized that it wasn't super fulfilling to just kind of, I don't know, just be, in the spotlight. I think being in the spotlight is fun when you have a clear message and a clear mission, and you have some kind of impact that you're trying to make. But I ended up leaving. I went to art school for a little bit. I got my bachelor's in psych. I got my master's in education. I got my PhD, and I started teaching. And along the journey, I just sort of felt like I was finding more and more aspects of myself and places that intersected in the world where I could make an impact or I could make a difference. So I had a private practice, Krista and I met, we worked for the same spa in Miami in 2002. And so I did body work and energy work and healing work with people. And then I worked in drug and alcohol treatment centers for young adults and adults. And then, moved into my teaching experience, at the university level, and then eventually transitioned about 6 years ago into business, marketing, sales, that kind of stuff, because I had so many students that were graduating and wanting to set up a practice and do things in the world, and just didn't really have the skill set for self-promotion and stuff. And I think that's when you and I intersected, when I kind of made that transition. And it's a lot like the stuff that you guys are doing in Las Comadres, the strategy, the branding, the marketing, that kind of stuff. That's how I was supporting people. And I am in Tulum right now with a brand new company. I was the first hire for the company. They want to build some pretty cool stuff in the online space, and they brought me in to help them make a roadmap and a plan so that they can launch. So that's why I'm here.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So how have you come to understand your own definition of success?
I mean, I feel like success is a mythology. I think it's a difficult word because I think that it implies somewhere that you arrive, and once you arrive there, all your life problems are solved and everything feels great and you never have to worry again. I think that the way that success is defined, it's like a place or a destination. And I find that like as soon as I get to that place I had been aspiring to get to, like let's say I finished my PhD, then I just had like 10 more things. Like I wasn't successful enough yet, like because now I needed the thing or the thing or the thing. And I find that it just creates this kind of like, you're just always kind of like chasing something. So I don't know, what's more useful to me is the conversation around resilience, is the conversation around like, how are you just sort of riding the ups and the downs? Like you make something and then it fails, or you try something and then it's like, it's great, but then you're overwhelmed. Like just to me, like success is more about just the resilience of sort of managing the journey and practicing joy and appreciation along the way, like not trying to, you know, control too much, trying to allow and really trying to just like stay in gratitude and grace while you're moving along. I mean, maybe I would feel differently if I was like a Jessica Alba billionaire or something. I'd be like, oh, I'm successful. Like maybe like I would have a different answer. But the journey for me is very up and down, and oh, now I'm in California, now I'm in Mexico. Like my journey is not linear. So it's not like, oh, I did these things and I made this money and now I'm successful. Like that's just not my journey.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that what happens is like when you get to that point where you think, oh, this is going to be successful, and then the actual like getting to there, then you have 50,000 other ideas to go from there, right? Like you're like, now I can see over that next ridge.
Yeah, like successful to me when I was in college was like getting a 3.5 GPA. Like successful to me when I was, I don't know, like in grad school was writing a dissertation. Like the success, it just continues to, you know, up level. If you're someone that's on a path, I think also like personal growth and transformation, if you're, you know, you're always trying to break your own limitations, you're always trying to, you know, go through your own kind of glass ceiling, then you're just, it's more of about, to me, it's more about expansion and like continuing that process of growth.
Amazing. All right. So in this growth, what are the fears that continue to show up?
I mean, I think that there is always the sense of like, I could be doing it better, or what are people thinking about the way that I'm doing it? Or, you know, did I make the right choice? Could I have made a different choice? Like, I think there's always sort of like a voice there. And I like really the way that Elizabeth Gilbert talks about fear. She's the person I think that has the most compassionate approach to fear, which is fear is going to be a constant companion. And what you want to do is you just want to make sure that fear is not driving the car. You can invite fear to sit in the passenger seat or to sit in the back seat, but you don't want fear to be guiding the car. So I think fear is always a companion. I think it's always part of the process. And I think just having compassion towards the fears and like allowing it to be there, investigating what it is, and taking whatever actions you can take to nurture yourself so that it doesn't take over is just, again, a part of this idea of resilience, and idea of just managing yourself as an entrepreneur. Because I mean, the people we're speaking to out there, right, they're mostly entrepreneurs and independent artists and creators and healers, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, I was just doing research last night about entrepreneurship and mental illness. That entrepreneurs are like 10 times more likely to be depressed or have burnout, or I mean, like all of the statistics show that you're just at higher risk for a lot of instability and imbalance, and you need to manage that more so than if you were just in sort of like a traditional career.
What do you think some of the tools to manage that are?
I think you need to create a really great support system like Las Comadres. I think you need to have people around you that you can like break down or cry or freak out or ask for help. Like, I think you need a strong support system. I think you need to have like your sort of toolbox of self-care. I mean, my toolbox is pretty big. It's like yoga and meditation, massage, like hypnosis, like past life regression, Reiki, going to church, saying my prayers, writing in my journal. I mean, like my toolbox is like, it's pretty massive. But like, even if you just have one or two things that you're doing consistently, I think that that's important. I think there's also a balance between like pursuing your dreams, but also being mindful of like the risks and the pitfalls, you know. So I would never discourage anyone from like doing the thing that they want to do, but what I see a lot of times is maybe there's this kind of blind passion and excitement and enthusiasm, and you kind of just like throw your life savings at it without having any kind of safety net. I think it's important that you have something to kind of fall back on, and that you're mindful. You don't have to be like conservative or cautious necessarily, but I think sort of managing your vulnerability, you know, in terms of what you're doing, so that you are not putting yourself too much at risk for whatever, breakdown, burnout, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that stuff happens a lot faster when the safety net isn't there, right? Like,
yeah,
because it's always like coming up the back.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, here it comes.
Yeah.
You guys on Facebook, if you guys want to ask any questions, just so you know, you're more than welcome to. And Vivian,
what do you want to know?
What do you want to know? Nice. All right. So beyond fears, what are you most proud of?
I would say there's like personal and professional like points of pride for me. I would say personally, the support system that I have, I mentioned that was something that was really critical, right, for taking care of yourself as an entrepreneur. And I have obviously an awesome support system. I have you, and I have people in California, and I have people in New York, and people in Mexico. Like I have created that for myself, and I feel really proud about that. Like projects that I've worked on that I'm really proud of, like I've been teaching for 10 years at one university, which I think to spend a decade at a university, like transforming the lives of students, is something to be really proud of. I'm really proud of my dissertation that I wrote. I'm proud of the work that I did at Skylonda, where I built the retreat center and brought people in for transformational retreats. So there's a lot of points of pride on different sort of like projects and jobs that I've done. I think if you're doing work that you love, you can feel pretty good about it on a daily basis, you know?
All right, so when you feel good about these things, how do you celebrate them? How are you celebrating wins, my friend?
Oh, that's a good question. Celebrating wins. I would say like taking myself on a vacation, or like hanging out with friends and doing fun stuff, going on a cruise, going to Abraham Hicks. I would say my celebration it continues to be in that realm of just sort of like joyful practices that are good for me, you know, that like I'll take a yoga course, or I'll go on a retreat at Shivananda in the Bahamas, or I'll, you know, buy myself a car, which I bought myself a convertible Mustang, and she's fantastic.
She is fantastic. All right, so most of the people are entrepreneurs that are here. Some of them are like really at the beginning, like maybe this is like a tiny little side hustle. Do you have any advice for like the beginning? I know you've worked with tons of people in that stage, and like what is happening? Oh, sorry, we're getting questions. Like what happens in the beginning, and like kind of where people fall off the rails.
I'm in the thick of it right now. I'm up to my eyeballs in something that is completely and totally brand new. And the role that I play and the role that I think is critical is being able to go from an idea to a plan. An idea is not a plan, my friends. I love you. I love you. An idea is not a plan. You can love to make jewelry or paintings, or you want to transform the education system, or you want to save the turtles. That's great. That's not a plan. And a plan is the vehicle that gets you to the results that you're trying to achieve. And plans are not rocket science. They're not mysterious. They just require like very few things, like a timeline, a budget, you know, who's going to support you in this endeavor, like what kind of staff or what kind of resources do you need. I mean, you can do, most startups use what's called a pitch deck, which is like a PowerPoint presentation. It's 10 or 12 slides, and it just identifies like who you are, what you're going to do, who's going to help you, how it's going to impact the market, what the results are going to be. And you can go on YouTube right now and Google how to do a pitch deck, and you'll get 100 videos on how to do a pitch deck. And that is industry standard for when you're starting something. So if you sit down at your computer today and you try to create a pitch deck and you can't, then you're not ready, which is fine, but you need to be able to get from your enthusiastic idea to actually something that's a bit more tangible. And that costs $0. Like, that's just you doing your own research and putting something together. You don't have to hire me to do it for you. Like, it's something that you can do on your own. But I would say like that's the first place that you have to start before you even start to, what's my website name and what like, where are my headshots? Like, before you even do any of that, I think that that's the most important first step.
Nice. All right. So Virginia, you know, from the Moth, says, hi, Gabby. I'd love to know what your dissertation was about and the biggest lesson that came out of that work for you.
Nice. My dissertation was a dissertation on the growth and transformation of women healers from around the world. So I did a literature review of all the different kinds of global medicine, indigenous medicine, medicine from South America and Asia and India and, you know, Native Americans. And I looked at all those traditions. And I discovered that medicine and spirituality were inseparable for millennia. It's only in the last few hundred years that we've had the Western medicine model that we currently have. It's very, very new. For 10, 15,000 years before that, we were relying on, you know, herbs and natural medicine and healers and prayer and shamans. And, you know, it was a very different model all over the world in every country. So that was like a really fascinating find. And then after I interviewed the women that were practicing these different kinds of medicine, I looked for themes about their experience and sort of what they said we could expect, you know, during the healing process and being healers. And I identified a couple of themes. I believe that there's a link on my website on I think the third page, the education page, that you can click. And there's a short article that summarizes the findings. I think it's maybe 10 pages or something. So I think it's there on GabriellePelicci.com.
Awesome. Which was one of the more interesting things I ever read about Gabby. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, the first time I met her, I was like, oh, this girl seems very smart. And I looked her up and I was like, whoa, she knows all the things. So when you did that research, you traveled all over interviewing the people, right?
Yeah.
Learned all the things from all the people. What's
it was really interesting.
Awesome, thank you. Virginia likes this. She's gonna go read it. So when you were traveling around, was there something about it that like was this definite connection between all of it? I mean, it seems like a lot of the medicine out there is kind of the same, but just in different words.
No. What's interesting is that one of the themes that I discovered in my dissertation is that all the medicine leading up to allopathic medicine, like all the medicine from all the places, one of the things that's really common is this idea of energy. Some people call it chi, some call it prana. Like, In Asian medicine, they use, acupuncture to adjust. In India, chakras, yoga, that kind of stuff. Like down in Southern America, they'll use like ceremonies and shamans. So there was this kind of like pervasive idea among all the cultures that I explored where like energy was, I don't want to say the foundation of health, but when energy was moving, health was good. When energy was blocked, health was not good. There was kind of this paradigm. But what was super fun was going into these different cultures and then reading about the local healers or meeting the local healers and some of the like extreme rituals that they have to do. Like in South Africa, for example, they have to do all this purging for months where they're like forcing themselves to vomit, and then they have to like slit the throat of a calf. And I mean, like in Bali, they have to have these things put in their teeth. And it's like, what was so interesting was the rituals that different cultures have created around, health and medicine, because there's been like this, this like spiritual, superstitious prayer part of practice, which in modern day now, we've adopted some of those things. Like, I know you love to burn things. You're always burning something over there. Yeah, exactly. You're always I mean, that's like a ritual that's like tens of thousands of years old. And so we have some of it that is sort of, but there was like a massive, like Holocaust against women healers, and so some of that was lost or oppressed or stuff, and we're sort of resurrecting a lot of that now. All our witches are kind of bringing some of that back.
Yeah, we have a fair amount of them in here, so we
love witches. I'm a witch.
All of our witches. Yes. The witches are good. There's all the different kinds in here, which is great. Yeah. So back to the business side, even though I could go on the woo side forever.
Into the woo.
Into the woo always makes me super happy. But the business side of it, when you are, let's say you get past pitch decks. We've moved past the pitch deck. We know what we're doing. We're 5 years in. Solo practice.
5 years.
You wanted 5 years. Well, we'll say 5, right? You're a solo practice, but you would like to expand. But like the feeling is like, I don't really know what to do next. Is there like a sort of general next step? Like how?
Yeah, so that's scaling. So then you're talking about the scaling. So in startup language, they talk about 0 to 1, which is what I was saying earlier, where you go from an idea to like a product. And then when you're kind of like going 1 to 100, that's like the scaling process. And so there are great resources, mentors, strategies for scaling. Because I'm an academic, I tend to be very grounded in research. And so I want to look at sort of everything that's happening in the market to see if I'm going to scale, what makes the most sense and what can I do better than everybody else is doing. I recently watched the masterclass with the woman who founded Spanx, and she talks about her whole journey of developing the business. And of course, she just had one product to start. And she had that for, I think it was like 6 or 7 years before she kind of, well, let's add panties, or let's add stretchy pants, or let's add bathing suits, or like the different things that she wanted to expand. But she really wanted sort of like market domination in this one category and wanted everyone to sort of recognize her before she added things. And a lot of successful entrepreneurs will say the same thing. If you're trying to do too many things at the same time, you're going to dilute the brand. It's going to be too confusing. And you really want to have stability and expertise in one thing before you start adding a whole bunch of other stuff. But I would say personally, my advice would be do a lot of research and get a lot of support, and make sure that the next thing that you're doing, like if you're doing lipstick, don't do dog food. I mean, there's also some entrepreneurs, they're so excited about so many things, like consistency of brand is important. Like, what's the next logical thing in this brand that makes sense?
Krista said jumpsuits.
Exactly. That's my next business.
Gabby's gonna make jumpsuits.
Endeavor.
that are going to be amazing. And I think that we should all make her do it because they're going to be super cool.
Yeah.
All right. So with the scaling, okay, so like if you have one product, right, and you're doing really, really well, so the people that go from like lipstick to dog food, they just like being an entrepreneur, right? Like they're just into the idea of selling the things.
Yeah.
You either are into the selling of the things or you're into like the love of the one thing. So if you're into the selling of the things, you want to build something so that you can just sell it, right? That's the market plan with that.
Well, I mean, I think Jonathan Fields is another person that I studied with for about a year, and he talks about like product person fit is one of the kind of phrases, which means like you have to make sure that who you are as a person, how you like to spend your time, what you like to do, like you have to make sure who you are as a person is aligned with being an entrepreneur. Like, and if it's not aligned with like the whole aspect of being an entrepreneur means that you're initially going to play all the roles in the business. You're going to play operations, you know, product development, marketing, sales, like you're going to play all the roles in the beginning. So if you're not comfortable doing that, and that a lot of healers and artists are like, I just want to offer my service. Like, I don't want to promote myself. I don't want to do public speaking. I don't want to sell my services. I just want to do my services. Then that's not the path of the entrepreneur. Like, what you need to do is you need to either hire someone to do the other things, partner with someone else who likes to do the other things, join like a practice or a collective or a group where you can offer your services and that there's some other entity that's, you know, in charge of driving traffic or sales. So you have to find a way to take what you're passionate about and what you're good at and bring it to the market in a way that makes sense. And my personal opinion is that there's very, very, very few people that can manage being an entrepreneur because of the extensive skill set that you need. You need to master so many different things. You also need to hire the places where you're weak. You have to have really great, you know, self-awareness to know like where you can excel and where you need support. Like I believe that it's a very difficult path. Not to dissuade you, like if you want to go down the path, but also know that like don't beat yourself up. Like if you're like, this is so hard, yeah, it's really, really hard. So know that like you're in for the marathon. You get the training, you get the trainers, you take the right supplements, you get the right sneakers, and you're going to be running for a very, very long time. Like, and know that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any like good ways to tell what you are good at and what you need to get outsourced?
Yeah, there's a lot of strength finder assessments online. I think you took one when you were in the Lily B program. Didn't you take one?
Yeah.
That said like, you know, kind of what your strengths are.
Yeah, that one was like amazing to me because it said I was a futurist, and I was like, it literally like made my entire life clear. Like I was like, oh, I don't like to look at the past at all. And like even the present is slightly hard, right? But like looking like plans, moving things forward, that kind of stuff for me is super easy. So like I just needed to be able to see what that strength was and be like, oh, okay, I need somebody else to be like day to day, like do these things so that this can happen farther out.
Yeah, I would do personality assessments, strength finders. I would go through and I would just sit down and I would study myself, like, and I would reflect on in jobs that I had leading up to this moment, what were the aspects of the job that I liked, what were the aspects of the job that I despised, you know, and I would just do an evaluation so that you could make clear decisions going forward.
Yeah, one of the things that Gabby and I did like a while ago was that we like broke down, when Gabby used to run a coaching program called Women in Wellness, we broke down all the different jobs that happen in your business, gave them names, but then when you put them in your calendar, you put it under that category, right? So like we actually were like, oh, the social media person is 22 and she's, you know, going out to all these things and she's taking lots of pictures. So we gave it like not only like a description, but also
An
like
avatar. We
an
create
avatar.
avatars.
And it made it
Yeah.
so much easier to switch into that mindset
Yeah.
of like who
You
that is.
basically have to have multiple personality disorder to be an entrepreneur, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. There's laughing from the other room right now. All right, Miriam
That's
said,
basically.
basically it. You have to have many, many personalities.
Yeah.
Miriam said, I used to think that I was that way as an artist and designer, but when I launched my business, I realized I had to get out of that mindset. So when we were talking about like how to shift over, you really have to take one personality and shift it into the other. And they're two different people. Like
Something that Tony Robbins always says is like, I made the Tony Robbins that you see. And so this idea of like, a lot of people have that discomfort of like selling yourself because it feels like, well, I'm a person, I'm not for sale, right? This is weird. But if you could create some kind of persona, like I have the Dr. Gabby persona, and she can go on stage and she can go on podcasts and she can do all these things, because that's not the me when I go home and, you know, take off the makeup and I'm like just me. It's just like, you know, this is your, if your service is your product, then you just have to have a version of you, a persona of you that can be the representative of that until you can afford to have everyone doing it on your behalf.
Yeah, it's like taking the sort of fake it till you make it advice, but actually like creating it instead of faking it, right? Like you're one.
Yeah, and what is she like that person who's promoting you? I mean, there's different ways to do sales. You can just have a very compassionate salesperson that just gets on the phone and listens. And just tell me how's it going, and tell me like what have you tried before and why didn't it work and what are your pain points. Like you can be a salesperson that just practices, you know, listening. So I think we have a lot of assumptions about what it means to do marketing and sales, and we may have aversion to a lot of the things that we've seen on Instagram, or maybe these, you know, like email campaigns that blow up our inbox, or, you know, so we might be like, oh, I don't want to do that. But there are as many ways to approach this as there are people. And so you can also customize it in a way that makes you feel good.
Nice. I think that like you love sales more than anyone else I know.
Yeah.
Why do you love sales so much?
I love sales.
You love sales.
I just think sales is the best thing in the whole world. For several reasons. I mean, the list might get very long. I mean, like for starters, if you have something that's awesome and you get to sell it to somebody and then they feel awesome, then it's like twice the awesome. Okay. So like if I give a great massage and someone needs a great massage and I sell it to them and they get off my table and they have pink cheeks and they're blissed out, like it's a win-win. It's a win-win, right? Number one. Number two, I like to be self-sufficient. I like to be empowered financially. I like to make money so that I can have autonomy and independence and buy things I need and take care of myself. So I love that prosperity and that flow, you know, of money coming in. I think sales is also a creative process. As I was just saying, I think that sales is art and science, and it can be a craft, like writing is a craft, or like painting is a craft. I think you can find ways to do sales that use a lot of graphics or use storytelling or you know, use empathy. I mean, I just feel like you really have all of this creativity that you can use, and then you have a really tangible outcome. So you know if it worked if you make the sale, and you know that it didn't work if you don't make the sale, which gives you very concrete feedback, as opposed to like sometimes you're like putting things out there and like you've no idea if they're landing or making impact, but like sales is very specific. Like either you bought the thing or you didn't, you know. And I love the intersection of the different aspects of like sales and marketing and strategy, and how they all influence each other and integrate together. And I could go on and on, but I think sales is super fun.
I think one of the things about sales is interesting is like when you can stop thinking of it as you, right? Like when you can get to where it's like, oh, I'm just trying to find the right people. Like this interesting, like when you talk about it like an art and a science, it sounds way better than what most people think of when they think of sales.
I think it's super fun. I mean, if you could call me or message me if you want to hear more about sales, I'll talk to you about sales all day long.
I mean, I think selling is one of those things that makes people like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to sell. I think that's like a big piece.
Yeah, but I think that that's a really naive perspective in the sense that like a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't like lifting weights, or like, I don't want to like, it's like this, it's a limited perspective of what the possibilities are, and not realizing how much is available to you, and how you can customize it to make yourself feel good. You know, like, oh, I don't want to be a vegetarian. There's nothing to eat. What am I going to eat? You know, and then you go to this gourmet vegetarian restaurant and there's zucchini spaghetti and there's like, and you're like, oh, I didn't know. So like, that's the part where I feel like you can like scale sales if you decide that you want to, and if you decide that you want to find the kind of sales that resonate with you, it's definitely possible.
Nice. All right. Miriam says, yes, embracing selling my work with all the love and excitement in the world has actually fed my overall creativity immensely.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think
I feel like it gives you, it continues to feed your soul and just make you feel like, oh, I have worth and I have value. Not that you're deriving all the worth and value from the financial abundance, but it reinforces and continues to sort of validate and continues to sort of build your confidence. I mean, I think it does have a lot of personal impact once you master it.
Are there any ways to really like take the sales that you want to have, right? You like, okay, I want this goal. Like, what are the testing things that you can do with either campaigns or newsletters, or like how do you measure it?
Yeah, I mean, on the most fundamental level, you need to have a sales goal. You know, it's called a KPI, or there's like different terms for it, but you need to set some kind of goal. And usually that's like the dollar amount that you want at the end of the day. You know, like how much money do you want to generate? And then sales is, you know, if sales is the ocean, the streams running into the ocean are like these streams of revenue, right? They're ways that money are coming into the business, and some of them are active and some of them are passive. Like if you owned a parking lot, people were paying every day to pay at the parking lot, and you never had to go to the parking lot, that's passive income, you know. But if you're getting paid by the hour for massage or for something else, then that's like, you have to, you know, you have to be present, you have to do that work to get the money. So you have to decide, you know, with regards to sales, like what are the goals? What are the financial goals that you're trying to achieve? How do you want to achieve them? What are the different streams of revenue that you want to bring in? And then you have to build, you know, to use the stream analogy, you have to build something for the water to flow in, which we call a funnel. So you have to have some kind of funnel, and the thing that drives the water into the funnel is the marketing. So it's an Instagram post, a conversation at a networking event, a booth at an expo, a business card. Like those are all the things that, you know, create that flow into that funnel. And then, you know, it's not only your job to kind of flow some of that in, but then it's your job once it comes in to what we call close the deal, which is to take the person from the idea of maybe I want to work with you to I've paid for the service or product and I've made the commitment. You have to kind of take people over. And that's where I think there's so much of yourself that you can bring to that. Like there's so much psychology you can bring to that, and creativity and empathy and compassion and connection. And like, I just feel like if you're a human selling to a human, that you could actually really enjoy that part of the process, you know? So that's kind of an overview of the
I
landscape.
really have never watched someone love sales as much as you. Like when you are selling, you are like in your just self. You are so centered in it, which I think is something that watching it made me a better seller and realize that there's like possibility of actually enjoying it. I think it doesn't have to be sales.
You know what? It just occurred to me as you were talking. One of the reasons why I think it's so fun is before I have the conversation with the person, I'm like, I know that they're gonna buy this thing. Like I'm just like, the sale is done. It's done. Like before I even get on the phone with them, I think that contributes to my success because I think so many people go into the conversation like, I don't know if they're gonna buy it or not buy it. This conversation's awkward. Maybe I'm charging too much. How can I charge? Like I just go in and I'm like, the sale is done. This call is like, you know, it's you know, it's just like it's just a conversation. The sale is done. Like I'm just so clear that it's the right thing. And if I don't have that clarity, it's a lot harder. And so I think some of your homework leading up to this is really understanding, are you offering something that people want and need? And is it just logical that they would buy it from you? Because when I go in with that, like, it's done, then it's just done. Like it just, because I can feel the click before I even, you know, get the check. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. You're just getting in alignment, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
okay. Which also I think brings you a lot of clarity on why that person is going to need that service to do the
Right.
thing that you're just offering them what they need.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to like force something on them.
Totally. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I love that.
And I think you shouldn't show up to any of these conversations with a whole list of reasons in your mind about why they shouldn't buy it, why they don't need it. What, like you shouldn't have a list of reasons, which I see so many people and hear so many people as soon as the person starts to sort of hesitate or, oh yeah, like you probably need some time to think about it. No, you don't need to like.
Don't give them suggestions.
You don't need to give them suggestions why they shouldn't buy the thing, like, you know. So I think being able to kind of be steadfast and, you know, not give the person excuses, you know, around their own doubts or delays or resistance or things like that is an important part of the process.
How do you think you clear that out of yourself?
God, I don't know. I mean, I want to tell you that like there's all these practices, but when I moved to Miami in 2002, I put on my roller skates and I roller skated to every house in the neighborhood, and I put my massage card in every mailbox in the neighborhood. Like I was just like, I love massage. I want to do as many massages as I can do in this lifetime. And all these people in my neighborhood probably need a massage because I know everybody needs one. And I just put on my roller skates and I was just off. Like, so
Roller girl, there she is.
I just wanted to do it. And you can't give a massage to the furniture or the air. Like you need a human on the table. And I wanted to do massage. I wanted to do it. And it was like, I can't do what makes me happy if I do not get people on this table. And so how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? Can you be happy working as a waitress instead? Or is it a little piece of your soul going to be dead if you don't do this? Like, how bad do you want it?
Yes.
You know?
Right. Miriam says, that's so true. I'm designing a sign that says the sale is done and placing it on my wall. I do go on the phone call with self-doubt sometimes. Yeah, self-doubt I think is like the biggest killer in sales. Like, and in general life, right? Like if you're going to walk into it and thinking about all the reasons why no is coming up, then the universe is going to give you the no, man.
Yeah.
All right. So get your.
I think you can separate personal self-doubt from doubt about your product, which goes back to the thing that I was saying is like, if you are the service, you're a lawyer, you're a graphic designer, you're like, if you are the product and you feel like, well, I have some, you know, maybe I've only been a coach for a year and I'm not sure if I'm really that good at it or whatever drama you have, which is natural. And we talked about you put fear in the passenger seat and you're like, yeah, we're not good enough. Okay, you sit right there, put your seatbelt on, have, you know, here's a power bar, right? Okay, you're good. Like that's that, right? But then does wellness coaching change people's lives? Are you 100% sure that when you were coached, you changed and that you see evidence of other people changing, and that you know that that this is transformational, you know that this is powerful, you know it will create benefit or impact or something, that's what you show up with on the call. Like, you show up with that, I know wellness coaching will change your life. I know it will. And like, no one can doubt that because they can just feel it vibrating off of you. So, sometimes you have to separate, like, what's happening behind the scenes. Like, maybe you're not super good at it yet, or maybe your paintings could be better than they are. Like, okay, but like, are you sure that the paintings that you make light up a room? And are you sure that art has value? And are you sure that art makes a difference in people's lives? Like, are you sure about art? Are you sure about that? And like, if that's the only thing that you're sure about, then you can just bring that to the conversation, and the rest, you become more and more masterful of your craft as you do it. But I don't think you need to be self-confident to be a good salesperson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the idea of them being two separate things, which I think also helps it to be, if you do get a no, it's not actually you.
Yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with
you.
you.
They're not ready for this product.
Yeah, or they don't share, like, they don't see the same value in the product that you do, or like they have competing products. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with you.
It's nothing to do with you, man. Nothing to do with you.
No, and you can continue to refine your marketing and sales process to see if, you have better results, and then you can decide, and get feedback. Like, Las Comadres is a great place. Put something in there and say, here's the product, here's the marketing copy, here's the sales funnel I'm using. What do you guys think? Like, get feedback from your community. That's what your community is for, to tell you if you're doing, and I give you guys send me Las Comadres thing, and I say, it seems, like you guys had a lot of emotional content, and then you kind of got more sort of logistical, like, how about kind of combination of, the two, or like, I'll just kind of, and you can take or leave the feedback that but this community is a great place to say, based on what you know about me and my product, do you feel like this is strong marketing? Do you feel like this is priced correctly? And you can get that kind of, feedback.
All right. So with pricing, when would one raise their prices?
You have to price rate from the beginning. Sarah Blakely talks about this in her thing when she put her Spanx on the market. Mm-hmm. Her Spanx were the most expensive item in the hosiery section, and she did it intentionally. She did it because she wanted to launch in Nordstrom's and Saks and Bloomingdale's and all the kind of like high-end brand stores. She wanted people to notice the product. Like, all the other products were in black and white packaging, and she put hers in red packaging. Like, she wanted to enter the marketplace like, this is better than what is there. And that was a different experience for her than when she was selling fax machines. When she was selling fax machines, she had to keep adjusting the price to compete with Canon and other people. And there was like this kind of like bidding thing that like she had to navigate because she wasn't entering the market with an invention. And so like, did you invent something, or is it like you're coming into the marketplace with a service that's already familiar to everybody else and you have to be competitive in the marketplace? Like, what is the nature of your product, and what makes sense for the pricing? And there's like, there's the psychology of that. People, I find that often the things that are priced higher are easier to sell, because it changes the perceived value, and it also changes the quality of the customer. Someone who's going on Groupon to buy stuff and then come into your massage, the quality of that customer, I've done this for sailing events, and I've done this for like different, like the quality of the customer that shows up is often not the quality of the customer that is your ideal customer. Mm-hmm. And so pricing, affects the quality of your customer significantly, and something that you want to consider. So I think you have to think about it and look at all the different dimensions.
Nice. I think that like the pricing conversation is one that has had a lot in this community, is like the moving of it, right? Like, oh, I'm going to price it here. No, I'm going to price it here. No, I'm going to price it here. And it's like, like coming down to like, what is it worth? Who are you selling to? That kind of story around it makes it so much clearer to be able to sell it, because you know who it's going to.
Yeah, and this just circles right back to the other thing we were saying. A lot of people price based on how they feel about themselves. Like a lot of people show up with pricing like, well, I'm not a good enough coach yet, so, or I don't have that much experience, so, or I'm just starting at, like, a lot of people have all this kind of like personal limitation or something that who you are as the creator is not who you are as the director of sales. The director of sales, which is one of your multiple personalities, your director of sales is setting the price based on the market. Your director of sales is not setting the price based on what kind of mood you're in that day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Or like how high your self-esteem is. Like your director of sales knows sales and knows what price is appropriate for this product at this time. And that's like a, you know, that's like a research-based decision. There's some like, you know, art and science, like I mentioned earlier, but you know, it's not your like 10-year-old inner child that's making the decision about how much to sell, you know, the painting. Like that's not the person who should be in charge of that job. She needs a different job.
10-year-olds are not in charge of anything.
You just need to find something else for her to do, and you need to ask your director of sales, how much should this be and how do we do it? So those are the kind of, especially a lot of this is about solopreneurship, right? And about this kind of psychology of solopreneurship, you know, which is something that can be challenging to navigate. And in the beginning, you don't necessarily even realize how much your 10-year-old girl is driving your business. Yes. And so many times for solopreneurs, one of the reasons they get into business is because the 10-year-old girl has needs, like the same way that healers come to healing practices because they had a trauma or something like that. Often there's like something that you're trying to express. You just want to make sure that even if you're coming from this sort of wanting some personal fulfillment or meaning or purpose or any of it, that she's not the one that's in charge of the business. That's all you have to just kind of watch for.
Nice. All right. So here's the last question of the day.
Oh my God.
Unless you guys have questions. Oh, wait. You must say hello. Melissa France is now watching.
Oh, hi.
All right. So our last question.
She's probably like, is Gabby still alive? Like,
yes, Gabby's alive and well in Mexico. So the last question of the day is, what advice would 80-year-old you give you now? You're going to go into the future to come back.
She would probably tell me, would you just relax already? Like, could you just relax? I just feel like she for some reason she's old and Jewish and she's walking with a cane and she's just like, hit me with a cane. Could you just calm down? Like, I just feel like she would want me to like calm down, relax, take it easy. Because yeah, it's the nature of a kind of me and being an entrepreneur. You've got a lot of fire burning all the time. You know, I run hot. I'm Italian. I run hot. And I'm a fire sign, and I'm a Leo, and I'm all the things. And so that means it's like, you know, it's this kind of like fireball. And I think she'd be like, calm down, will ya? Calm down over there.
Calm down. Sit down. Go to the beach.
I feel like that's what she would say while she's hitting me with her stick.
I like that she's going to be hitting you because you still won't be paying attention. It's good.
I know. I'll be like, but, she'll be like, calm down. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. All right. Well, thank you for all your amazing advice. We are the chat will be up and we will keep answering questions. So if you guys have questions, keep asking them on Facebook. Me and Gabby will answer for you later. Anyway, thank you for coming all the way from Mexico. We greatly appreciate you, as always.
My pleasure.
And Comadres, we will see you on Thursday at co-working. All right. Bye.